Coming to you from the United States of America, this is Political Analytical. I'm your host, Eddie Hill, along with Rick Warren and Gordon Park. Join us as we give our opinion concerning everything dealing with politics. We don't hold back, so prepare for a no-nonsense approach to the news, and no, we don't care about your feelings. Uncensored and no sugarcoating. Sit back and enjoy the ride. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Political Analytical. I'm your host, Eddie Hill, along with Gordon D. Park and Rick Warren. And we have with us tonight our other newest addition, James Toops. Pleasure to have you boys with us. How are you doing this evening?
I'm good. We got done with that one event over there at the theater today, and we had a great time. So everything's clicking, Eddie. Thank you.
Awesome. And Gordon, how you doing?
Good deal.
Baseball.
Baseball.
Yeah.
Lots of baseball.
Well, it's coming up on the end of the year, and we missed part of the season last year, so we're trying to get as much in as we can.
Trying to play some catch up.
Literally.
Yep. And we got James with us. How you doing, James?
I'm Joe Biden, and I forgot this message.
So we can tell how he's doing on that one.
Should we send it by horseback?
What an idiot.
Oh, man.
Danielle in.
Man, we got so much to get into, man.
Guys, you know, you're supposed to say room full of only one handsome fella, and that's your boy right down on the lower right-hand corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was telling
sometimes she could be a floozy, but it's okay.
He's going to be doing a dance and gathering donations into Political Analytical so that we can help fund the station. So, James, we appreciate you doing that.
Yep. And I like James being underneath me.
Well, ain't nothing better than being on top of you, buddy.
I'm kind of on top of Rick, ain't I?
Yeah, you're on top of Rick.
Oh,
yeah.
Damn.
But Rick's diagonal to Gordon, and I'm diagonal to you, and you guys are much bigger than I am. I'm only 6 foot. I don't know. You fuckers are like fucking 6'3" and shit like that. So I kind of feel like the pivot guy, you know, the pogo man. I don't know what you call it, but
actually, I'm one of the smaller ones in here.
Yeah, but we've all
well, before we get too far off into the LBGTQ elemental P and all that other bullshit they have going on.
Alphabet.
Just fucking throw the whole alphabet in there, you know.
So we got yeah, it's just like the Brady Bunch. Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm. So the sexiest voice in all of podcast land trumps every one of us in here. What's up? What's up, Darren? How you doing, buddy?
Darren Wedlock.
Darren's got a cool story that we're going to be sharing on the other show later on. He's got some investigating to do, but once he gets this story in hand, we're going to be bringing him on, and he's going to be talking to us live on some issues that took place in New Zealand. So that's going to be really interesting. So, gentlemen, Gordon, since you been missing Wednesdays because of, you got family time and ball games, I'm going to let you come up with the topic tonight. And I mean, I think everybody saw what I posted for the topic for the night. And that kind of like leaves it open, literally.
Well,
not to put you on the spot or anything, Gordon.
No pressure. I want to go over, I think we should take a look at some of the things that were being said and have been said on the last final presidential debate. You know, I've been over the stats. And I've looked at the numbers and looked at the numbers. And those guys who know me know that I am a numbers guy. That if the numbers don't make sense, then I'm going to call bullshit and I'm going to call it out loud.
Okay.
And in a loud voice. So let's talk COVID and the Rona here for a few minutes. Everybody is freaking out that the United States has reached over 200,000 deaths from the coronavirus, right? That was one of Biden's big kind of stumbling kind of talking points during the presidential debate. And I look at my friends talking about this on Facebook and listen to some of the talking that they're doing. And I keep reminding everybody, and I want to keep reminding everybody that there have been more people die from cancer this year than from the coronavirus in the U.S. So what do we need to do? Do we need to go ahead and lock down the U.S. and shut down the bars and shut down businesses until we get a cure for cancer? Let's be
Gordon,
realistic.
Cancer has been out there for a very long time. It's the big pharma that's not letting it escape, if you follow me.
No, and I understand that.
You know, the
but the point I'm trying
Gordon, that's kind of like a brilliant idea. What do you think about this? Lock down the country long enough to come up with a cure for cancer. That would be freaking amazing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That would be awesome. That would be actually worth the fight right there. We shut this country down for 4 months to have a cancer cure. I'd fucking back that in a heartbeat.
What about
That'd be
for
badass.
AIDS?
But this bullshit with this corona?
What about for AIDS? HIV?
Same difference. I think personally, I think that's a government created thing anyway.
Well, I'm not going to disagree, but that's a virus. Just because it's not airborne doesn't mean it's not a virus. My point here is, and what I'm trying to get at is that if we're going to choose something to say that this is the greatest pandemic of all times and to shut our country down over, let's make sure that the people who were in charge and who have been in charge are actually trying to fuck us up. We've reached 200,000. That makes the mortality rate of this virus, this disease, less than 0.01%.
Which,
so, guys,
honestly isn't it technically? I mean, how can you even really call it a pandemic, though? I mean, I know people
call it anything more than a fucking strong flu.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, you've got people that die every year on the flu. So, I mean, how can you literally call the coronavirus a pandemic when, and honestly, more people die from the flu than they do this crap.
In the last flu epidemic, 280,000. That was the last number that they recorded, but there were more than that actually died from the flu pandemic, if you want to call it pandemic. So we're looking at 80,000 people, up to bat as far as reaching the flu numbers. I did an event for a guy today over in Wellington, Kansas today. We called it Booze and Brews. And I did it because you have the small businessman going down. He doesn't have the numbers that he usually has as far as at his theater and things like that. And we had to come up with a way for him to make a little bit of money and a little bit of overhead to where he could keep operating. And if he didn't get enough within the next 2 or 3 weeks, he's going to be shut down. And these are the things that really pissed me off about this whole thing that's going on, is the fact it's not you and me, it's the middleman and the businessman that is getting jerked over, stomped on, and not a damn word is being said about what we can do about them.
And Rick, what you're just saying reminds me of something that you brought up Wednesday night. And I was at the ball game and I was listening to the show, And I heard the desperation in your voice. And I saw it in your face when you asked the question, who the fuck can we trust? And the answer to your question is absolutely no one.
And that's sad.
Or if you're a person of faith,
That's
you've
sad.
got God. And other than that, that's about it.
That's about it. But
Yeah.
at what point in
How would you feel if you were? How would you feel if you was a cancer patient or an AIDS patient, and you have leukemia and you're on your deathbed or in the hospital, or you have somebody hospice coming to your house to take care of you and do your thing, and all you're seeing on TV is lock it down because of coronavirus, and you're sitting there wondering why the hell didn't they lock it down for cancer, or why the hell they didn't lock it down for AIDS, or anything else, How would you feel, if you were that person sitting there going, why am I not good enough to be locked down? Why is the population of my disease that I have, that I'm dying of, not good enough to be locked down? And then you look at Corona, and then you start hearing all this bullshit where it's, hey, it's just like the flu, there's a 98% survival rate, where cancer, I'm not sure what the survival rate is, but it's not very good. It's way less than 98%. Depends on which type and where you have it and how severe it is. Like Rush Limbaugh he's a stage 4 lung cancer patient. He came out the other day on his show and said he's terminal, and but he's still remaining positive, and he compares it to baseball. And I listen to Rush every day. Michael Berry, Rush, those guys, Sean Hannity, I listen to these guys every day, and Rush is apparently doing pretty good, but personally, I think Rush is a little worse off than what he wants to put out in the public. He's stage 4 lung cancer. It's not looking good. There's talks about replacing him, and who would they put in his place already, and all this other stuff. So it's like, Rush is my boy, man, but I don't think he's doing as good as he says he is. But still, either way, how would you feel being that person saying, why the hell are they not being so aggressive on a cancer patient or a cancer cure, or being so aggressive on an AIDS cure or something like death sentence like that? Why is it so aggressive on Corona? Because number one, it's all political. It boils down to being all political. And I have a guy that I lost, a friend of mine that I worked with every day at work. This guy was a great guy. I lost this guy. He was in the hospital 23 days. His health took a shit when he was in there. He just nosedived. He was doing better and better. And then the next thing you know, I get a phone call, didn't make it. And he had underlying conditions and stuff like that. But a guy in his 50s, it did him in, So, I know people personally that went through this, but I also know more cancer people that went through this and didn't make it out alive,
Well, here's the thing.
My thoughts.
With cancer and people with all these other diseases, it's rough enough going through them. And I'm not saying COVID doesn't exist. It does. What I'm saying is they're making this into something it's really not. Yes, people die. Yes, people get sick. But we have other diseases that are can be just as lethal, and it's just as contagious. But we weren't running around with masks.
Well, and I'm looking at it from a different standpoint. Now, the reason I'm harping so much on the fact that I'm comparing it to cancer numbers is I remember about 6 or 7 years back when my father-in-law passed away. Now, you have to understand that my father-in-law was probably one of the most important people in my life ever. And me being married to his daughter, if this had been going on then, and my wife was torn up when her dad passed away then, but I couldn't imagine how torn up she would have been never being able to say goodbye.
And seeing so many people are in these elderly homes, these assisted living conditions, and they're not allowed to have visitors. You know,
Mhm.
what that is
No,
I ever
exactly.
saw ever was this little old man that had his hand up to the window, and his wife, which looked like she was probably in her 80s or 90s, had her hand up to the window as well, and they were holding hands through the glass pane.
Through the
How
window.
freaking sad is that, dude? That
I watch
my
that.
heart.
It is.
It's horrible.
I watch that every
And my
time
friend
that my partner, every time my partner goes down to see her sister, I watch that happen. And it
Yeah,
It
my
tears
friend
at
that
you.
passed away in the hospital, they called his wife at like 2 in the morning. Nah, it was probably around midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, saying, "Hey, you need to be here. His stats are starting to go down. His blood pressure's starting to drop. You need to get over here." And when her and his only son got there, his 16-year-old son, they were not allowed in the room with him. They had to watch him die through the glass. That's the way it happened.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just how it went down. It's freaking sad, man.
It's not only that, but guys, look at the people that are passing and you can't even go to the funerals, or they have a restricted
Yeah.
number of people that can.
But it's
can
okay. It's
actually
okay to
attend
have a
the
fucking
funeral.
rally. It's okay to have a protest. It's okay to have a rally. It's all right if you belong to BLM or Antifa and all this other shit. But you're only allowed 6 people at a funeral. I go look at the obituaries all the time from my hometown, from Houma, Louisiana. And I look at the obituaries because I'm out of contact with folks down there. And I'm curious to see if anybody I know died, right? So I'll go look at the obituaries probably once a week. And people in there, it says funeral arrangements are, provided by such and such, Sam Art, Chauvin Funeral Home, funeral pending this, and this, or it'll say funeral services, graveside only allowed to be X amount of people and all this other shit. And I mean, everybody down there in Louisiana knows everybody. So when you have a funeral, it doesn't matter if you're a bum on the side of the road. You're going to have 85 people at your funeral, straight up. And they have restrictions on all of this funeral shit. But look at George Floyd. How many people was at George Floyd's funeral?
Oh, God.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, man. It's all political. All political.
You'd have thought a saint passed
I hope
away.
they all get.
Yeah. Well, I want to look at
Absolutely.
something else. I want to look at something else that was brought up was about the climate change and global warming. Now, Joe Biden made a statement that he was going to put us back into the Paris Accord that Trump got us out of. And I want to make sure that everybody understands what that Paris Accord and us being in that Paris Accord actually means, since we are one of the leading countries in industry and one of the leading countries in manufacturing. And we are not a third world nation, which means we have to pay to clean up around those third world countries. It is going to cost the United States $1 trillion to be part of the Paris Accords. 1 trillion. Where is that money going to come from? We haven't had a balanced budget since before Ronald Reagan.
Taxpayers.
So where is that money going to come from? We've been deficit spending since I was 14 years old, and I'm 43.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to continue that way too, Gordon.
It is. So here we have a guy who took us out of the Paris Accords because he knew that, number one, and I would hope that I'm not speaking out of left field here, that climate change is a load of horse shit. And number two, pulling us out of a deal that's going to cost us over $1 trillion to a presidential candidate that openly said, I am going to put this country back in a position to pay $1 trillion. And then on top of that, one side of his mouth is saying, I never said it. I was going to shut down fracking. And I want to explain the process of fracking for those who don't know what it is. Fracking is the process of it is shooting water in high pressure water into the spaces in between rocks. to capture
Injection.
oil and to bring it to the surface. It's not going into a large cavern of oil and pumping it out. That is called drilling. Fracking does not leave voids in the ground. It does not leave, and as a matter of fact, it's not even fresh water that they're shooting into the ground. It is salt water that they are shooting into the ground, capturing the oil particles and bringing them to the surface and then reseparating them out. That's what the frac tanks are for. And he is dead set against it. But in the presidential debate, he said, no, I'm not against fracking. He said he's against fracking on public land. But what you do on your private land is okay, right? Capturing the oil.
But let me ask you this, though. Why is he so against it?
Why is he so against what? Fracking?
Fracking.
Here in the heartland in Kansas and Oklahoma, we have an upsurge of over 75 to 80% in earthquakes caused by fracking. Just like Gordon was saying, that it is put back into the ground, not only the water and the other things that they inject back into the ground under high pressure. I know it went on since 1975 because I worked for Halliburton. And I went on so many fracking jobs, and we were shooting up to 15% acid into these formations around Kansas and Oklahoma. And you have that much pressure. And since 1975, since 1975, we have been fracking around this area. Now we are paying the price because we have earthquakes out the wazoo coming up.
Well, here's the deal. Here's why he wants to stop fracking. So if, I don't think Joe presented this thing well. I think what he's trying to say, or what he should have said to the people, is we're going to phase it out in the long run. It's going to take 30 or so years to do this, but he's coming off like he's going to do this tomorrow. And we all know if you do this tomorrow, if you shut down fracking and oil and gas tomorrow, the economy is not going to survive. American people is not going to survive. So many millions of people out of jobs. What he's trying to do is be innovative, and he's trying to be ahead of the curve. And he's saying, I'm going to shut this down. Here's the goal. I'm going to shut this down 30 years from now, 20 years from now. But the problem with that, and it's not a bad idea, to be honest with you, it's not a bad idea, because he wants to eliminate carbon emissions and eliminate oil, eliminate gas and everything else. Here's the problem. Our technology has not caught up with the fracking, the ending of oil and fracking yet. Our technology is not there. You're not going to slap a solar type of vehicle and just go ahead and ride off. It's not going to happen. What the problem is, once our technology catches up to the production of petrol and the benefit of petrol, then we can start talking about that. But right now, Joe's like, oh, well, I want to phase it out. I want to phase it out. Joe, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in the next 10 years. You can't just phase it out within a 10 or 15 year span, especially 4 years. Because I don't think if he gets elected, he's more than 4 years if you don't get impeached right away.
Let me tell you what's going to happen if he gets elected and he goes ahead and tries this. I was around, like I said, working with Halliburton. Okay. When they shut the oil field down out here in Kansas and Oklahoma, I saw hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of oil refining trucks and Halliburton trucks and oil rigs stacked in the yards. I know personally 8-9 companies that went under. I can take you right now to those places and you can still see the oil rigs stacked one right next to the other, and it hasn't come back. And at the bars, I could sit there and I could walk in, and there were crew after crew after crew after crew sitting there wondering, where is my next paycheck?
Let me tell you guys.
Here's the thing. So in 2015, I got laid off from NOV, National Oil Well, where I was down in Homa. I'm like 60 miles from the Gulf, straight as the crow flies. When they put the moratorium in place and all that other good shit, in 2015, I got laid off, right? That's the reason I'm in Texas right now. If not for that, I'd probably still be in Louisiana. So you go right down like towards Cutoff, all these places. you see it the same thing, Rick, like you're saying. You have drill ships and you have these jack-up barges and all this other stuff. These guys are just, they're not doing anything. It's just a bunch of boats all over the place. Everybody got laid off. Everybody. I lost my job. Been doing my job for 23 years. I'm a top class welder and fitter. I lost my job out of 23 years, and everybody else alongside me. They had a with all the guys where I worked at. If you were 60 plus, they gave you a package and a retirement. They said you could either take this package and this retirement and move, or you could take your chances. And some of the guys took it, some of them didn't. And within 6 months, the doors are closed. That's how bad it got.
Yeah.
Now, let me tell you guys, you know, we're talking about how technology hasn't caught up to gas. It has. There's been many patents that the government has basically taken and shut people down.
Yes.
Technology has caught up with natural gas and petroleum and everything else, and it's way beyond that. However, we're not going to see it, and there's a reason for it, because money. We're not going to see that technology.
Because it puts natural gas and oil out of business.
We are not going to see that technology, and I don't care how many people want to push this Green New Deal. Okay, there's too much money in oil, too much money in petroleum for them to say, you know what, it's going to go away. And they can say they're going to phase it out all they want to, but if they do try and phase it out, it's going to take forever.
Well, Biden.
Now, here's
have
something
two of
to
the
think
biggest-
about right quick.
But Biden said he was.
Think
gonna
about
phase
this
them
right
out by
quick. So if
2025.
Okay,
he did,
hold
but
up.
his plan doesn't work. I'm not a
Go ahead, Gordon.
Right.
So,
But what I'm saying is if he comes out and he makes a statement that he's going to phase out the oil industry by 2025, before he's up for his next potential reelection, if he were to win this one, how the hell do you expect the American people to vote for somebody who's going to shut down one of the US's biggest GDPs products? How?
You
The
can.
answer is you can't.
You have two of them.
so
Okay, James, go ahead.
okay, so if I may, Biden says 2025, right? He's going to phase everything out. His plan it'll be on point. Everything's A+. I have two problems with that. One, Biden out and said that within the next 10 years, our carbon emission will be at the point of no return, right? We won't be able to come back from the carbon emission, okay? But his plan goes to 2025. Where's his math on this right here? Number two, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a conspiracy analyst. I analyze conspiracies, okay? Here's one thing. What if they know something that we don't know? AOC, Biden, all these nut jobs, right? What if they turn out to nut jobs and they do, Eddie, like you said, have this technology that's not so much perpetual motion, but they have this technology that would eliminate oil and gas, okay? What if they have that already in their pocket, but they don't want to come out with it because you know what? It's not marketable. I've heard a lot of things about, you know, hey, this guy made a generator. It runs off of this. It runs off of that. Halliburton bought the friggin' patent for this thing and never put it out because it's a generator that runs off of magnets and they never put it out. I've heard this before. Okay. That's all conspiracy. It's nothing proven. We don't know that. Said I'm a conspiracy analyst, not a conspiracy theorist, right? But the whole thing with Biden talking all this shit that in 2025 he's going to go and we'll be gravy, baby. 2025. But in his own words, he comes out and says in the next 8 to 10 years we're at the point of no return with the carbon emissions. Per capita, we have the lowest carbon emissions in the entire world, the lowest, and we have a busy country. The lowest one, you know, per capita in the world.
Right.
Where's his basis? What is he talking about?
Now, real quick, I'm going to read real quick what Darren said, and then I'm going to let Rick jump in, and then we're going to go to break. Darren says, New Zealand is a step ahead of the U.S. in crazy green ideology. 1 billion pine trees being planted to offset carbon which is devastating farming. No oil or gas exploration allowed, all thanks to the United Nations. Coming to the U.S. if Biden gets in.
Jesus.
I believe that. Rick, go ahead.
I was thinking about when Gordon was talking to James too about this. We are up against probably the two most powerful entities that has ever been established in this United States. And I'm not talking about the presidency. I'm not talking about Congress. I am talking about oil and pharmaceutical. We have seen exactly how they have played not only the United States, but the world in consumption and production of things that how are you going to make billions if you have a cure for cancer? How are you going to make millions if you have a carburetor that gets 65, 75 miles to the gallon? Where's the money going to come from? So they keep it under wraps and they keep it away from people. They keep the healing things away from what we really need as a process to help people who have pancreatic cancer and throat cancer and heart problems. And it just really, I don't know, it just really gets to me that they think that we are so gullible that we will take anything that they want to shove down our throats and we're supposed to like it.
I agree 1,000% with you there, Rick.
Here's the thing. So if
what happened?
Where'd you go?
We lost James. Well, we're going to go ahead and go to break real quick, and we'll be right back, everybody. We're going to play a little tune for you, and hopefully James will be back, and he'll continue on.
Okie doke.
And we still
Are you
don't
back?
have James, so I don't know what happened to him. He's still gone.
His hotspot went
Oh
down.
no. Okay. Well, that's what happened. So yeah, I mean, it just it's crazy on some of the stuff we got going on. Rick, you want to continue with what you were talking about?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about where the middleman America is today in this election. Okay, it's you and me. It's everybody out there on the streets. It's all the people that's out there and are trying to make a living and can't. And Gordon, you're right. I was desperate in my plea to those Americans the other week about who do we trust. I don't know. I don't understand how we can play political monkey with the lives of and of people that are on the market, in the market. It's like I said, I just got done with an event for a guy over there at Wellington Theater and everything, because if he doesn't get things turned around within the next month, his theater is going down. And that's the biggest thing about right now, is that we are in a desperate need of somebody who can run this country.
Well, I don't know of what we have to look at. Trump is the best to run the country. He's a businessman. He's a business owner. He's run businesses for years. When we start, it's like running a family. It's like being a father in a family. When we start running our families based strictly off of emotion, then we start being reactionary instead of proactionary. And Trump took the emotion out of running the United States. He came in and he looked at the books. That's the first thing every business owner looks at. Okay, where do we need to make changes, and where do we need to make cuts so we can survive, so we can thrive better? And that's what he's done. And every time mom and dad get together and go over the budget and things get cut, you know who gets pissed? The kids get pissed, because now all their spending money is gone. All their extra money to go out and play video games and fuck around and do all the stuff that they've been doing is gone. And that's the seat the Democrats are in. Dad came in and looked at the bank and said, how much money are you kids spending? And he took it away. He said, no more. And the Democrats are now crying.
Another issue, Eddie, is this. I looked at it today, and while we were on break and everything again, how much longer can we sustain this endless war that we are in the Middle East?
This war in the Middle East, Rick, has been going on for so long already, and it'll be going on after we're long gone. This is something that's not going to go away, and it never will. They've been fighting since the beginning of time, so all we're doing is jumping in the middle of it and kind of joining in to make sure they don't get the proper equipment and nuclear devices. He'll go after the rest of the world, because that capability is out there. And just like North Korea, Iraq, places like this that have no business with nuclear weapons. We have to keep that away from them. And if we don't, the rest of the world's going to be in danger. And unfortunately, in order to do that, we have to have boots on the ground in some of these areas in order to try and control that. Because you can see what's happening with North Korea. We don't have boots on the ground in North Korea. We've got them in South Korea, but we don't have them in North Korea. And because we don't have boots on the ground there, they're pretty much doing whatever they want to. Kim Jong-un is launching, intercontinental missiles, testing them to try and make sure he's got range. Now, you honestly think they don't have something in the works already? Of course they do.
Oh, yeah.
But if we're not close by to put a stop to it in the event that they ever want to try and launch something like that, we're all screwed.
My son was in South Korea, and he wrote back one time to me, and he said, Dad, he goes, if the wrong twig is broken, he goes, all hell is going to break loose. And it's true. I mean, we are on the precipice, the very precipice. I looked there the other day, and they said the doomsday clock was as short as it has ever been in mankind.
And we're going to keep heading in that direction, Rick, unfortunately. I have a bad feeling if the Democrats get in, we're going to be at war in a hurry. See, they were real worried at the beginning about Trump pushing the button. Oh, we can't have a man like him in there. Trump's done more for peace of the world than anybody else ever has. He's been able to accomplish more with these foreign powers. Nobody else has done what he's done, but yet they're worried about that. So if they get in with all their hate and rhetoric, they're going to sit there and turn the table, and we're going to be in a war before we know it. And we're going to be sending our sons, our daughters out to fight this war that the Democrats are going to create in order to take the attention off themselves and to be able to get their hands in the money pot. And that's exactly what they're going to do.
I agree.
I agree.
So I had two other things that I wanted to bring up and discuss. One of them is climate change. The kind of goes hand in hand with the whole oil talk, but the climate that we are experiencing and the change in the climate that we are experiencing is normal. It's not at an exorbitant amount because of the number of people that were on the earth. It's not moving at a faster pace because of things that we are doing as a people. The ozone layer around the earth is kind of like a diaphragm, a water diaphragm. It expands and contracts. When we have too many greenhouse emissions in the atmosphere, it expands to release. It has a release valve. It's kind of cool the way the earth was created with that release valve. It releases a lot of that stuff into space, and then it contracts back down to it contracts back down when it's relieved enough of the pressure. So why do we need to, and hear what I'm saying? Are we being destructive to the planet? Yeah, we need to be doing some things different. But are we creating an environment that is going to be poisonous to our grandchildren's grandchildren? No, we're not. Geological surveys and geological studies going back to the beginning of what we can record through scientific studies of rock show that we are coming out of our fifth ice age. Fifth one. The average temperature of Antarctica, 76 degrees.
Wow.
Yeah.
So why?
And everything is cycling.
Yeah, and it's all in a cycle. So why
Mm-hmm.
is everybody in the world pushing so hard for green bills, changing our environment, doing away with certain things? We need to regulate, we need to do things responsibly, but there's no reason in the world to be pushing shit the way we are pushing it now.
Yeah, Darren Wedlock says, yeah, thermodynamic equilibrium. The Earth sorts out its hot and cold atmosphere.
Yeah, the Earth came with its own
Yep.
thermostat. It's kind of cool that way.
It's amazing when you sit there and look at our Earth guys and you sit there and they talk about us being in the Goldilocks zone, not too hot, not too cold. But at the same time, when you sit there and if people would actually look in history, and I mean look back clear into the 1920s and 30s, everything is cyclic. Not only the snowstorms, but the typhoons, the hurricanes, tornadic activity, everything like that having to do with weather is in a cyclic pattern.
You know, and there is actually a book out that you can buy every year that tells the future of what the weather is. It's called
Farmer's
the fucking
Almanac.
Farmer's Almanac. And they get that from historical information, people.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, Eddie, your thoughts?
I honestly think if we're going to be sitting here messing with all this Green Deal, I think that is just a political move and a political statement to try and gain people and make kind of worry people and make people think that what we're doing right now is going to kill our planet before our grandkids even grow up. And it's just to me, it's all just a crock. It's just hogwash what they're preaching. And I think by doing a lot of the different things that they're trying to accomplish, such as banning cattle because they fart,
I was just getting ready to bring that up.
Yep. I mean, craziest shit I ever heard.
They actually had a biological or a study. They had a bunch of students go out and measure how much methane was released when a cow farts. Do you know how shitty of a class project that is?
Oh God, I can tell you right off the bat, my horse is gassy. All right. You can sit there and listen to him give a good minute and a half long fart, and he feels better afterward. But I have yet to see anything bad come of it, as long as you're not standing downwind from his ass.
So is your horse a Clydesdale?
Pretty damn close.
Yeah, he's what? 33 hands, 65 hands tall, or something. I mean, he's a big horse. He's a big horse.
He's a big boy.
Damn. So the last thing that I want to really delve into and put the screws down to is something they called Obamacare, and now Biden is calling it Biden Care. There is a thought process among the Democratic Party that with the confirmation of Barrett, and if Trump gets reelected, that we are going to do away with Obamacare and cancel the health insurance of millions of people. Okay. Based off of what I know to be true, it is absolutely 100% illegal to say, hey guys, just as a heads up, all your insurance cancels on this day, regardless of whether or not you've paid for it. Sorry. Can't do that. The issue that we're dealing with here and what makes people like me so pissed off about Obamacare is the fact that my tax dollars have to pay for somebody else's insurance. And the fact that you're telling me I have to carry insurance, even though I may not want to.
Let me tell you, that was bullshit. That crap that Obama came up with, where you get fined if you do not carry health insurance, was a bunch of crap. Because I'm telling you right now, there's people that couldn't afford to get insurance that were getting fined a lot of money, and monies that they didn't have because they couldn't afford insurance. So they're getting fined anyway.
Yep, that's right.
That's
Mhm.
bullshit.
I have a lot of friends who sat back and said, okay, I have a family of 4. How much is the insurance going to cost me versus how much am I going to pay in a penalty? And at the end of the day, they weighed out which was going to cost them less. And they paid the lesser of the two amounts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then Danielle says the ACA is still bullshit because it's not affordable unless you qualify for the tax credit. And she's right.
And I believe there's only one carrier left on the ACA.
Yeah.
And it is a government-run health insurer.
Yeah, it is.
But you got to qualify for that, Gordon.
Yeah,
And
it's just like qualifying for Medicaid or CHIPS or whatever. You have to be freeloading or being part of a government program in order to be getting the ACA. That's just how it is.
Yeah, Danielle says, yes, it was a bunch of crap. People that didn't qualify for ACA, but didn't qualify for Medicaid either. How are they supposed to pay the damn penalty? And that's exactly what I was saying. If you can't afford it, how are you going to end up paying the freaking penalty? I mean, it's impossible.
So let's say that this guy, average Joe, says, well, I can't do anything except go out here and get insurance. So I'm going to have to go out and I'm going to have to get my 3rd job so I can get my family health insurance. So he goes out and he gets his 3rd job and he signs up for just enough. He makes just enough to buy the most basic coverage. Y'all have any idea what kind of deductible is on that basic coverage?
Oh God, it's crazy.
He'd have to get a 4th job to cover the medical expenses from the first.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane.
Right, but then if he did that, he wouldn't qualify for it to begin with.
Exactly right.
And let me point this out too, guys. When you do go into their network, you don't get to choose your doctor. You don't get to choose your dentist. You don't get to choose a damn thing except what that booklet they send to you in the mail. And if he's in this town, that's who you're going to go to. I don't know this doctor, but that's who I have to go to. I don't know this dentist.
But on that topic there, Rick, by the way, when in the hell did freaking insurance companies become your doctor and decide on what you're allowed to get as far as treatment, and have a say so as far as if you need surgery, if you need medication, what kind of medication you have to have. If there's a certain medication you need, they may not cover it. They'll tell you to get a generic version of it or whatever the case may be, but you have to do what the insurance companies say, and they're holding your life. They're holding your lifeline in their hands. And if they decide, you know what, we're not going to pay for that because we don't think you need it, then, you're going to lay up there and die. And that's going to be the end of it. End of story. You're done.
We have seen in the last 6 months, my partner and I have seen in the last 6 months, the office cost of going to the doctor raised from $125 to $180 $25 for an office call. We from in that area. And when we had to move because of my condition, as far as my heart and everything, if I would have had a heart attack in that town over there where I lived, it was going to take them 25 minutes to get to me. And that's why we had to move to this town.
That's insane there, Rick. Danielle says, true, but what about people on disability? Most of them don't qualify for either coverage, nor do many of them pay taxes if they are single, but they still have to pay a penalty. And then we've got another long comment over here from James, I believe. If a child has a life-threatening allergic reaction to a bee sting, and EpiPen costs $500, not to mention the ambulance ride at $3,500, but we had to pay for some bullshit insurance. Yeah,
That's exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
I think what Trump is trying to do is trying to make an insurance plan that makes sense.
right.
Now, we all know that insurance is just about one step short away from legalized, what's the right word, Eddie? Extortion.
Yeah, extortion.
It's legal extortion.
Monopoly.
Okay. We're just going to come
Mhm.
right out and say it. So Trump is trying to, I mean, he's not going to be able to turn the entire table, but he's going to turn it enough to make the balance, to make it a little bit more fair. One of the things that I've always disagreed with about health insurance is the fact that if, you know, I have diabetes, I have type 2 diabetes. And if I'm not getting health insurance through my job, if I have to go out to the private market and get it, they're going to exclude anything that has to do with my diabetes. That's not right, and that's not fair.
No, it's an underlying condition.
Right. And that's what they're referring to as pre-existing condition. But it's like going to get car insurance, and just because you had an accident or a ticket, them saying, okay, we're going to take you on, but because you had an accident already, we're not going to cover any of your accidents for the rest of your life.
Right.
Car insurers can't do that. So why should health insurers be allowed to?
Oh.
And I think that's the point that Trump is trying to change. We are not going to take away the public option. We're going to modify it to make it fit and make it work inside of a real live America, not a hypothetical America.
Right. Antonella, she says, even with insurance, many times you have to get pre-approved. Insurance have a bunch of really well-paid sellout physicians ready to deny your request for treatment. And Danielle, she says, yes, but that's almost impossible. Oh, work with different types of insurance daily and still don't understand all the details. That's true. I mean, you're not going to be able to. I mean, that shit's written by attorneys and everybody else.
It really is.
So we are coming up on the hour, folks. So I guess we should go ahead and do some closing statements. Gordon, you want to lead us?
Well, as always, I want to encourage everyone to get out and vote, no matter what it takes. We've got to get out and vote. Not voting is not an option. I don't care if you have to walk, take an Uber, find a ride with a neighbor, whatever it takes, ride a Clydesdale, get out and vote.
Rick.
10-4 on the Clydesdale. Yep, 10-4. I just wanted to say thank you guys for another great show. And we hope, and I hope sincerely, that we don't paint a picture of gloom and doom. I think there's a lot of hope for this America. I think we still are the strongest nation in the world. I still think that my neighbor cares about me and I care about him. And it's about time, as far as being American, that we show that. It's about time that we sit there and have the ability to go up and shake a stranger's hand and say hi. Just all I'd tell you. Have a good day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Everybody, we can't stress enough how important it is to get out and vote right now. If you haven't voted, get out there and vote. I already took off, and Elsa and I went out and voted already. Got all that done. Did the early voting thing. I'm glad we did. I did it electronically in person. I wasn't going to play around with any of these mail-in ballots. I think that's all bullshit. I think we all need to really strive to keep America great. We need to strive to keep this president in the presidential seat, because without him, we are going to take a nosedive that it's going to be almost impossible to pull out from. And we're going to feel it for a long, long time if Biden gets in. This is some scary shit. And like Gordon said, I hope we didn't paint a bad picture of it, but I don't think there's any other way to paint it, honestly, Gordon. I think
well, it was Rick that said that, but Rick is right. We do have hope in America, but the show, and from my eyes, is I want to give people the ability to be able to say, it's not totally dire, but we're getting there, and we've got to see the hope in it, but we also have to see the truth. The days of living with the shield over our eyes and looking through this world with rose-colored glasses, those days are long gone. Those days died back in the 50s, and damn sure were dead by the time Ronald Reagan was out.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
We've gotten to a point in America to where we have just let good enough, just enough slide for long enough. And now we're in a position to where we don't have a choice but to stand up and say something.
I agree. And James has a closing statement for you guys. If you haven't voted yet, get your ass out there and vote. Great show, guys. Love y'all. So, James, appreciate the closing comment, man. I'm sorry you couldn't make it back on. I know how that internet's been acting up on you. Darren says, good show, guys. And Danielle, she says, good night, guys. Great show. Well, I want to thank everybody for being on the show. Antonella and everybody, Danielle, Darren Wedlock, all of you, Julio Martinez, Scott Hammonds, thanks everybody for being on here. We really, really appreciate it. And please spread the word about Political Analytical. Share it on your page. Share it on your friend's page. Share it on your neighbor's page. Share it on whoever's page you can find. Let's get it out here as much as we can. And as always, any type of listener support is greatly appreciated. You can follow it on the link, which is in the chat. And we thank you all so very much for being out here with us and sharing your opinions and your thoughts. And we look forward to each and every Wednesday and each and every Sunday to get out here and talk about what's going on and hearing your all's comments as well. So thank you once again, y'all. Take care. We love you. Be safe. Take care. And, be sure to, stay close to your family and let them know that you care each and every day, because you never know what's going to happen. So until next time, adios.